Hello, beautiful YouTube family. We're going to get ourselves hooked up on Instagram and we will get ready to go. Let's see here. Get ourselves situated just so. I'm so grateful. I am so very grateful. So very grateful for our beautiful community, our beautiful 4D community. Oh, blessings, everyone, at this time approaching the holidays, or we're in it. We are in it. I pray that you are well and maintaining your sense of center, your sense of sovereignty, of clarity, and of authenticity as we move into and towards this next 10-year cycle, this 2020 cycle, which is really pretty outrageous. Do you remember? And I think we kind of started around this tip last week on our show. I'm just so curious to go back in and think about what we remember, if we remember, what we remember about 2010, about where you were 10 years ago, what you were feeling to manifest then, what your intentions were for the coming years, and how have they come to pass? How has that thinking, how has that level of awareness come to pass for you? How has life shown up for you? Have you learned various lessons that were gifted to you along your path? Are you repeating a lot of the same lessons? And where is it that you can be more honest with yourself when it comes to really getting deep down into the authentic self? Because we begin to understand that as we go forward, right, into the now of dissolving, dismantling all the parts of the story, all the conditioned responses and triggers, and the things that we're even currently taught and told through media, through social media, through the news, through the history books in school. All of these aspects sink into our consciousness, and on some level, they remain on our subconscious. And it is from these points of reflection that we then think that we should manifest from, that we should think that we should manifest from those beliefs and those stories we've been told by our families. And it's only natural. This is how we dance here. I was going to say in the States, this is how we dance here in the world and in the States and perhaps even beyond it. Thank you everyone for joining. I am Tuesday Mae Thomas and this is our weekly live stream for Trinity. So we're just sort of mulling over and considering all the variables, all the different aspects of who we've been and what parts of those self we have chosen consciously or even unconsciously through our thoughts, through our positive thoughts. How have we exercised and worked towards generating greater thoughts that are in alignment with a positive aspect of self versus the negative aspect of self, versus those thoughts that bring us into self-sabotage, that bring us into limitation, that keep us bound to hurt and to pain and to really just the limits of the past we have learned or that we have taken on and have not even questioned. And it's so very important as we consciously decide to move into this next decade, what it is we're giving our thoughts to, what it is, how we're feeding the energy body that plugs us into the greater whole of this divine universe. It's so very important. On one level, this is a very powerful third dimensional initiation to be really mindful, to be really conscious of the thinking mind and of where your thoughts take you, what they connect you to, the people, the places, the things, the past, the future, the present moment, the I am. How often does I am really consciously come from the tip of your tongue and anchor your sense of reality, your sense of how the world then dances around you? Thank you everyone for hopping on Instagram and everyone at YouTube. I'm so very grateful. Thank you for being here. As always, I pray that everything I share truly serves your path of spiritual growth and sovereignty. And today we're speaking about positive thinking and the thing about positive thinking, because I know in my realm of work that it's a very important attribute. It's a very important part of self-mastery, is being a master of your mind. If you cannot master your mind, then you're fucked. No, just kidding. Kind of. Then if you don't master your mind, then who is mastering it? Then you're just thinking all the thoughts that you've been told to think. And then you're just like a robotic computer, just going through the motions and repeating what you've been taught. And that's normal, right? That's how we do as children. We come into the world, we're told, Tommy, you're a boy. Boys don't cry. Boys don't show emotion. And now I'm making this up. But you're given this list, or you're Jewish and this means this, or you're Mexican and that means that, or you're from Russia and so you have to act like this, or whatever all the conditioning, the layers are on us, male, female, anything in between, however we identify. We take on the substrata, those aspects of belief, and then we give them life through our thoughts and through our words. And then that anchors us into how reality comes back to us. Yet the most important thing we get to realize here is that we, on one hand, and here's the tricky, like that alchemy, that magician, swirly, slippery fish that you just have to learn how to dance with, is that there's an initiation here in the 3D world of being a master of your time and space, of being a master of what you're thinking, what you're allowing your mind to plug you into energetically, especially those thoughts on repeat. Are they serving you? Do they put you in your power? And is it really what is aligned with spirit and with soul? We are not these bodies, right? And again, here's the slippery fish thing, and I have to come up with a better term. Because on one hand, we are not these bodies, yet while we're in the 3D, in this world, we are so these bodies, right? We get to master this body, our health, our healing, our well-being, our longevity, our vitality, how we work with the energetic circuitry, the kundalini, the Christos, just the life force energy, so that we can be present in our fullest form to live, to be at one with life. Yet at the same time, as we go forward, we move deeper on our spiritual path, we realize I am not this body. We understand it is just one fundamental component of our multidimensional being: the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the spirit, which is always, the spirit is always one with soul. The spirit is always one. Or what I will say, because there's a teaching, and it's a little different than perhaps what other teachers would share. But what I teach is that your soul is unfuckable with, and that your soul is always one. There is no like old soul, new soul, baby soul, the soul growth. That doesn't, no. I offer you a different way to think about that, and that your soul knows that it is one with all of creation. It already knows that there is no separation. Your soul is absolutely aligned with your unity consciousness revelation within yourself. Now, the spirit, on the other hand, what I would offer is that your spirit, right, is like a blueprint of the soul, but your spirit is the version of us that we're more in contact with as we begin to meditate and do our breathing exercises, do our workshops, our ceremonies, sweat lodges, all these juicy things that bring us in tune with the metaphysical, with the dimensions, the parts of us that extend beyond this physical form, out through the cosmos. We begin to become sensitive to these avenues and these aspects of ourselves. And so we begin to invite in a new conversation and a way of thinking about things, a way of seeing things. So with this said, there's a 3D component that your spiritual body always has the direct line to your soul, to that soul wisdom of unity, of oneness. Yet your spirit can only be voyeured, can only be tapped to the level, that your mind and body are calibrated to, right? in the way of conditions can you create in your body and in your mind that will open a way and allow you that divine alignment, that hello breaker, this is your higher self. I really feel that higher self and spirit, they're two in one. They each contain that blueprint of our absolute perfection. And again, when mind and body, as we begin to align those in tune with higher self, in tune with that wisdom of spirit, which is the 3D, sort of the accessible part of us that is accessible here in this third dimension as bodies, as personalities, as we practice meditations and spiritual pursuits, and even just knowledge, being silent in nature, downloading divine information, right? These aspects are going to bring us in tune with spirit. And so the most important aspect that I want to drive home today with positive thinking is when we consider positive thinking, there's a lot of naysayers, and I get it. Because it's like just putting, if you have a lot of trauma and there's a lot of stuff, and even if you don't have trauma, if you're just working towards moving and towards a new goal or towards a new vision of self, and you decide to have some positive thoughts in one way or another, and you're thinking them, and maybe you draw the little post-it notes and you put them, or you write the stuff on your mirror, and you're training yourself, right? You're training yourself to think in new ways, to consider new ways, and to see how this could be. And you're thinking this thing, and you're thinking this thing, and you're maybe even saying it out loud. And as it doesn't come to fruition, and maybe you're saying the same thing for years or for weeks, and you're just like, man, it's not syncing up. There's always this component of your higher good. There is like this emergency like break. I feel that higher self will always gift us grace. Well, always, and sometimes we got to learn things for ourselves, and we don't have that grace of the emergency seatbelt or safety belt or brake. In the terms of, there's things that perhaps you've wanted really bad. You've wanted them. You've been impatient. You're like, why haven't they happened yet? I so have this vision for myself, or for this creation, for this. I want to make a baby, or I want this. I want to, get this patent done, and the money isn't coming, or whatever the thing it might be. Yet you keep running into blocks. You keep running into things that don't allow it to come to pass under grace. I feel that that's the higher self sort of like blocking what could come third dimensionally for our higher good, because there are things, think about it for a moment. Are there things, relationships, business partnerships, money, whatever it is that you have really wanted at some point in your life, and only now, as you've kind of gained a little more intelligence, and meaning from the heart space of intelligence, that wisdom through your own grand experience, that you realize, like, wow, there is a divine timing to all this stuff. And if I would have gotten what I thought I wanted back then, I see now how that is actually not in true divine resonance with who I'm actually becoming, with who I'm discovering I really am. And this is the culprit. This is the anchor right here. Because if what you're thinking is not in tune with an aspect, even a fractal of your true authentic self, then you are just going to go around in circles. You are not going to crack the code of yourself. So I wrote this note. Let me see. The thing about positive thinking, if it's easy to say it, then it's not what's going to crack your code of transformation. I was watching this little video with Greg Braden, and he was commenting on how he was hanging out with a friend of his who had like a million post-it notes everywhere that were affirming, like, my perfect mate, my perfect soulmate is here now. I'm living my perfect life with my perfect relationship, my perfect partner, my perfect soulmate, like all these things about relationship, and like that it's happening now. And had been saying these and saying, and Greg was like, and everywhere he went through his house, Greg was saying that there were these post-it notes saying the same thing. They get in the car. The guy has the post-it notes on the dashboard and everywhere. And Greg turns around to him, knowing this guy, and that he's single, and he's saying, how is this working out for you? How are all these positive affirmations working out for you? And the guy's like, yeah, nothing. I got nothing. Nothing's really working for me. And what that calibrated, what that brought my mind into, is this thing of like, if you're just going through the motions and really reaching for the matrix, if you're reaching for the stuff of the world without rooting what you are thinking from spirit, then you're not going to crack the code. So this individual, just from this story, Maybe you have different thoughts on it, but what I was getting is that this guy is not even ready to meet his soulmate. Like there's something like universe is like, yeah, say that affirmation or that positive thought as much as you want, but honey child, there's some stuff that needs to be worked on and broken down here. En route to this divine, soulmate or this divine relationship happening. But you see, that's the thing with positive thinking is that we are often taught, right, to just make the positive thought. And there is a practice in that. And again, that's the 3D mastery, because we get to exercise our synaptic capability through our physical body, through the grid matrix, of our ability to put the words together of what that new thought would be. But you see, when you just take a thought that someone else has thought, or from a book, or from something you see on a video, and maybe it's going to ding 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 hit your jackpot and crack the code and sort of bring you deeper into alignment with spirit, with your truth, with the real part of unity consciousness that is awakening in your body mind. When you do that, when you tap that, and if that thought that you pick up from a book or from something and you take that in, and if that hits the jackpot, then blessings. Yet oftentimes people really have an issue with positive thinking, because, and I can see where they say it, because you're just taking a thought and you're putting it like a band-aid over a whole bunch of stuff that perhaps is at the root of really being realized, of really being rectified and honored and clarified and looked at and thought about in a different way. That once you think about that aspect in a different way, then you begin to say, oh, snap, let me reconfigure what I thought was the positive thought that I wanted to put on top of this situation. You see, so where I'm getting to is that perhaps this guy in that example with Greg Braden, he was shooting for gold, and God bless, yet obviously there were some root things that, what I'm going to say is, it's like, what about the relationship with the self? What about that divine knowing of thyself, divine? What about that divine relationship? And really where the positive thought could go is to, instead of just thinking a positive thought, because let's bring our awareness to this aspect that asking a question to the universe is also a positive thought, is positive thinking, and that we can reconfigure it. And perhaps there's a sense of cracking the code for this individual that is more about, how can I be the best version of myself to invite in the soul love that I feel I'm ready to experience. Do you see what I mean? It's much richer. There's a kaleidoscope of words. It takes a moment to think and consider about the self, about the spirit, about the anchor and the root of spirit with unity. What parts of myself can I begin to heal that will create the correct conditions for my soul mate, if that's your grid, if that's your thing, for my soul mate to come into being. So I pray you're getting that. It's very important, because we have a choice. Every thought we think, we're creating a choice, and we're either doing it consciously or unconsciously, and we're choosing the light body. We're choosing to feed the light body. We're choosing thoughts that will feed the light body, that will calibrate your ability to be in tune with spirit. And really, the more that we get in tune with spirit through our practices, the less we spend time thinking superfluous thoughts in general, but also the less time we think about, like, all I need is $1 million and then I'll be happy. It's like, what is that? But we hear it all the time, and not that I have anything against winning the lotto or coming into financial blessings for any of us, for myself included, yet understanding that on a rudimentary level, the thinking that gets you to the place that thinks that that stuff is what is going to make you happy. That's the matrix. That's the misleading aspect of the positive thinking that keeps us in a cycle. Now, if it's your karma, if you're in divine alignment with receiving that financial boon, and that is your affirmation, and it comes to you, then so be it. Yet, if that was the case, and we're all sitting here thinking that we're ready to receive our $10 million or whatnot, then why aren't we receiving it, right? There's deeper strata that I, again, feel that higher self, that the divine tapestry of the sacred geometry that makes this whole divine unity, consciousness, one, this fourth dimensional consciousness, accessible, this heaven on earth, our peace of mind, our ability to be in the world while not being of it, to hold it all lightly. That's what we're beginning to wrap our minds and our tongues around. And all of those thoughts that are rooted in fear, rooted in the pain of the past, they serve to feed the tar body, the toxic twin of the light body. They serve to keep us anchored in the matrix. So now I know very spiritual people that are still, and I say this lightly and in a bubble of light, because I'm not intending to cast judgment, but just for the sake of this little topic here, I know a lot of spiritual people who are who would prefer, not a lot, but okay, we'll just say some, that are still really hung up on money, and that you know, and I know I'm just painting a blanket here, but it's just for the metaphor of it, right? Just the idea that you're shooting for the affirmation of that big chunk of money, but meanwhile there's this whole, it's like the subconscious thing where you see the tip of the iceberg, and below the water there's like this huge strata of your being that, when it is not nurtured and taken care of and really listened to, really tapped, that you can ask for whatever it is you want, and you can think all these positive thoughts, yet they don't sync up with your true authentic self, with your true integral self, you're just going to keep spinning your wheels in the matrix, and you might get what you think you need, and you may not, and you may just keep adding more positive thoughts. But the point is that there's a real component to you, which we're going to explore in our little meditation today, that is always seeking your word, that is always seeking your mind, that is always seeking to for you to create the correct conditions to think. Here's the face in profile. These are all of the thoughts, right? Sending themselves out and connecting to the grid matrix of collective consciousness that is a part of the entire collective of all minds joined through all time, space, and dimensions. What we put out vibrationally, we attract back to us. We know this, right? This is how this energy in the universe works. Yet again, is what we're thinking, does it really make us feel good? Does it put us in our power? And you could be like, yes, $10 million makes me feel good. Yes, it puts me in my power, right? Does it represent the frequency of who, what, and where you want to be now? Right? And you could be like, yes, $10 million, thank you very much. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, because we're all just alchemists in the lab here, experimenting. I'm going to tell you a little story though. When I was writing my first book, I used to go and spend time with, oh, there go the glasses. I used to go and spend time with a monk, and Ratananda. He, I believe, has passed away now. And this was back in 2012, 2013. And he was a monk at the Self-Realization Fellowship Temple in Hollywood. And I would go and I'd see him every couple of weeks, because I could feel, and I had just done my first ayahuasca ceremony, and there was a lot that was sort of fractalizing, that was unbecoming and unwinding from me. And I could feel as I was writing my book, which is a full autobiography. Okay, that's the God phone. Pardon me. We're going to come back here. Hello? Hey, God. God says hi. Blessings. Yes. Positive thinking. The thing about it. There's only one thing with positive thinking. Okay. We'll read a little bit from lesson 128 from A Course in Miracles. Okay. Thank you, dear God. God says blessings, everyone. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to finish this story and then we'll read it. Okay. Love you too. The God phone. Okay, so as I was writing my book, which is very autobiographical, okay, it's an autobiography. And as I was writing it, it was a deep purge. It was like, I invite you, if as you're guided to write your life story, you will cry, you will vomit, you will most likely have emotional healings and perhaps some traumatic revelations of your past, so that they can be purged, so that you can heal and move on. It was quite Quite an initiation, to say the least. But I would go and see the monk. And I remember at the same time, I would be sitting out and meditating in the beautiful gardens, and I would be writing my little affirmations. I'm one for affirmations, fully one for affirmations, because I believe there's a way, and especially when we write them, when we speak them, when we get clear, and even if they're positive thoughts that maybe don't sync with that spirit oneness that we're talking about today, it gets you closer to put words together, to be an alchemist, a chemist in the way, to mindfully put words together that resonate with you in that moment. And then as you work with them as affirmation, as you get clear on who you are, what happens is you begin to go, oh, and you scratch that affirmation out, or you retune it, you refine it, and you go, holy smoke, that's what I was affirming, that's what I was thinking, repeat. And actually, now that I'm getting clearer and more in tune with my unity, with my spirit, I realize that there's actually more to it, or there's less to it. So for instance, back then, I was still walking with affirmations that were all about being famous, right? For me, I was a singer for many years. I was in a rock band in New York. We played CBGBs. I had dreadlocks down to my butt, and we were just hard, heavy rock band. It was so fun. We had, contracts coming up, and I was always like, no, no, no. Like I couldn't bear to bring myself to sell my soul, so to speak. I just wanted to be a free artist. Yet there was always this part of me that's like, you should have signed the contract. You should, you want to be a star. That ego part of me, which is fine, right? If that's in your realm as well. But there was a part of me that was still working itself out, that wanted fame, that wanted fortune, that wanted a lot of money. And I mean, like, I would write out all those zeros, all that money. I really wanted fame and fortune. Right. And all sorts of other stuff as well, right? In these affirmations, as well as, the beautiful flowery things like perfect health and grounding and centering and clarity and, divine creative processes and whatever, all the other stuff. But there was this big lump in and among all the things that were true to me and aligned with my spirit, that I was pointing to the matrix, that I was asking and thinking positive thoughts and thinking like, I will, right? I will be a millionaire. I will be successful. I will be da da da. And I'm pointing to the matrix with every thought, and I'm triggering the matrix with every thought. And meanwhile, my higher self is going like, is that so? Is that so? Is that what you really want? And what happened is I'd sit there with this monk, and just in the presence of him, all my BS would just come trickling off. And I remember there was a turning point, and he had given me some deep advice with my book. And he told me actually to put it in the libraries and some other stuff. But he just would always come back to say, what is true? What is true for you of what you're going to share in this book? Make sure that it's true for you. And I remember then going back out after meeting with him, sitting under the tree, doing a little meditation, opening up my notebook and looking at what I had just written before my meeting with him about all this affirming for these millions of dollars and fame and success. And I started bawling, because I realized the true part of my nature is actually that I don't want those things that I thought for my whole life I wanted. I really don't. My privacy. I mean, we all come on social media. I have this little weekly show, and I intend to generate greater and greater platforms to share the teachings I share. Yet my sovereign, are you serious? My sovereign privacy, my privacy is more important. Pardon me. Hello? Yes. Okay, I will. Thank you. Okay, blessings, God. God's hilarious. So he was just reminding me, God was just reminding me that I need to make an announcement before we end today. The point is that what I realized is that in asking for all these things that were not in true, authentic alignment with myself, I was taking myself way out of the way from my true path, from aligning like the arrow, right? Like pulling the arrow, poof, and like hitting the target. I was way off target, asking for all this stuff that when I really, really got down to it, and in the presence of this monk, just melted all the stuff away, as I was saying, I realized like, oh my God, I actually don't want I don't want fame and fortune in that way, in that grid of like, I need paparazzi, or like, I really was under this spell of thinking that that was going to make me happy. And so, anyway, the process of writing the book and really getting deep into spirit and connecting with the true, authentic self and the integrity of it all for me was that let me remove this positive thought from this makeup, from this recipe of what it is that I am co-creating with spirit, of the true part that I'm co-creating with spirit. Because what I actually saw is that having that positive thought, that positive affirmation as a part of my pathway was actually creating a suffocation of my energy, because it was not in true resonance with me. And it was actually holding me back, or keeping me in a holding pattern, if you will, from coming into the peaceful, enjoyable process of creation without attachment to what it's going to be later, or how it's going to show up, or if I'm going to make $1 million from the book, if I'm going to, oh, and then all my positive thoughts were all about like, I am a best-selling author, like very serious. And again, not that I'm anti that. Yet what I realized, again, the point that I want to drive home, and I pray that is getting clearer and clearer as we go on, is that what I was shooting for was all rooted in the matrix, was all rooted in me being a body, in me having stuff, and in that stuff validating this body's experience in the 3D. It had very little to do with the galactic, with the cosmic, with the strata of multidimensionality that I am and that you are. It had nothing to do with heart and with spirit, all of those things. They were the things and the stuff that I was taught by society of just like you gotta, if you're gonna be an author, you gotta be a best-selling author. Come on now, you're gonna be success, fame, fortune, and this goes back to when I was in the band, always wanting to like have the fame and the fortune, but then as the record companies would come in, the publishing contracts, I couldn't do it. And there was like this knee-jerk thing that now I'm so grateful, because I didn't want that. I just wanted to sing and play and rock hard and enjoy the process and do it my way. I did not want to be limited by any artist restrictions. And I'm so grateful now. I pray that all makes sense. We're going to read, Godphone wants us to read a little bit from A Course in Miracles. I have to get my glasses. They dropped over. Pardon me a second. So we're going to tie this in, and then I want to just check the time. Okay, we're doing good, because I definitely want to do a little meditation here today as well. Okay, so we're going to read a little bit from lesson 128. The world I see holds nothing that I want. The world you see holds nothing that you need to offer you, nothing that you can use in any way, nor anything at all that serves to give you joy. Isn't that amazing? The world you see. Now let's talk about this for a second. The world we see, the physical eyes, as we teach here and at 4D Trinity, what I share, the physical eyes see the physical world. It's the third eye, the heart center, and the third eye, calibration, that sees beyond the world, beyond the grid matrix, that sees into the singularity of the 0 point, into the unity, that sees from that place of unity consciousness. And remember what I teach here, and I thank you all for being here, and thank you for waving and for saying hello. But just in case you're new to me, I am Tuesday Mae Thomas, and this is my weekly live stream, 4D Trinity. And it's called 4D Trinity because here, this is the place that we gather and we consider these aspects of our multidimensional self, the physical, the mental, the emotional. And we talk about and consider and practice aspects that bring these 3 values of our multidimensional self in alignment with spirit, which holds that divine blueprint of mastery that is fully embedded with soul wisdom, and that holds our joy and our ability to be in the world and not of it. 4D is all about the heart center, the Christ center, Christ consciousness. It's just living from that place of love and peace, but cultivating that and really doing it on purpose consciously. And you see, that's the thing with positive thinking as well, is that we can be unconscious. We can have a conscious intention to think positive thoughts, yet they can become just like a loop in the background of our minds without any real intention, you see. And your conscious intention, your feeling. And here at 4D Trinity, what I teach is that emotions are not real. Emotions are birthed from our minds and our feelings. There's only one feeling. And this is now, and I hold my right to change my mind about this. But one of the teachings that's cultivating that I've been sharing on is that there's only one feeling, and that feeling is love. And all emotions are just guidance points to help bring us back to what we already are, to that truth and love. Yet feelings are real, and feelings are always rooted in love. And the emotions are created from the mind. The physical eyes see the world, see what the mind and emotions would have us see. The third eye, the heart center, your third eye vision, your ability to see beyond the world, is what bridges heaven on earth. And really, what is that? That's peace. That's you being at peace on a day-to-day basis. That's you consciously cultivating your spiritual willpower to choose peace, to create the correct conditions for peace. And yes, that has to do with our positive thoughts. Yet understanding that when our positive thoughts are rooted in the matrix, in the world, and then we're wondering why we're not happy, why things aren't changing. And maybe things will change a little bit in alignment for your highest good, where things are ready to shift for you. Yet, unless it's really challenging you, this new way of thinking, in terms of take a moment, take some time to really put together with your mind a new tongue for you to then lay the stones down for your pathway forward. If you're just regurgitating something that doesn't really have a powerful resonance with you, it's not going to crack your code of transformation. It might. It might. I can't say absolutely. But it's in those places where we expand, where we use new words. And when we root this new word, this new way of thinking with spirit, that's when your multidimensional presence, your absolute power and authority in this world and beyond it begin to activate. Because we are not these bodies again. We are not these positive thoughts. We are not the thoughts. We are not the matrix. In Buddhism, there's a term called alaya vijnana. And alaya vijnana speaks to the storehouse, which is the storehouse that holds the storehouse of consciousness, that holds all the seeds of potential. And we can think about this, right? In science, there is this consideration that I love to bring forth with these teachings metaphysically, that speaks to this entire universe and all the space between the bodies and the things and the couch and the cat and the kitchen and all the stuff, that in this invisible world, the space between us is really just a sea of superposition, right, of particles and waves, of every potential and possibility in existence. And it's when we look at it, it's when we observe it with our thought, with our word, that we collapse the wave into a particle, and we create then the stimulation of our reality. But if what we're collapsing over and over and over again is just more of the world, again, there's value to that, because there's the point of being a master of your time and space, where you learn how to do that on repeat. You learn how to master your mind so that you collapse within this grid matrix of collective consciousness. You learn to heal your life with your mind and your tongue and other practices, but so that you can go beyond the matrix. You use the language of light, rooted in spirit, rooted in love, to go beyond the matrix, to crack your code, to connect with the fourth dimension, which has its roots in the singularity of the 0 point of the tiny space of your heart. Your heart is fully powerful. And I guess the point that I would like to make at this juncture is that You are not this body. There is an experience of sovereignty that is here for us, and that you feel it, you already know it. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. Yet it is our conscious awareness of the positive or any thoughts that we think, especially those on repeat, that are going to help to root our energy and navigate the antenna of our thought through the stratosphere of the grid matrix. I was holding up, there's so many thoughts in my head right now. I pray I'm able to get them out through the tongue. So remember, we were looking at this picture before. There's the profile, and here's all the extension of the thoughts. Bruce Lipton they're proving now in science with the magnetoencephalogram that the synaptic electrical codes that are firing off in our heads, it's not just going on inside our bodies, but they are now being able to measure the extension of the electrical activity, the extension of your thoughts that extend beyond your body. And all the teachings I share here, it's all about how the extension of that continues. And my theory is that we are now turning a corner and being able to discover or make new discoveries in science that will actually see, and perhaps we're not looking just yet beyond that extension of 2 or 3 feet with the magnetoencephalogram, yet that there is the extension of those lines coming from your thoughts that connect you to the grid matrix, that plug the grid matrix back into you. So the point is, yes, mastering this 3D, mastering your word, mastering your mind, mastering your thoughts, because if you can't master here your peace of mind, good luck in the cosmos. And I say that it's a little funny, but it's like, that's why this is the school, right? That's why this is the school. This is where we do our healing. This is where we do our self-realization and actualization and do our work, so that all of those limitations that we would think or that we are taught are real here in this world dismantle. We become fractal. There's less, we are connected then to less grids of the matrix, less grids, less beliefs of the world. And so we're able to go beyond it and have experiences that bridge our multidimensionality in this third dimension. We begin to bridge and link the dimensions through our energy body. And I've done other talks on that. I'll come back and I'll put links on my YouTube for some other talks regarding that. But let's get back in here. There's so many things. Okay. So again, the world you see holds nothing that you need to offer you, nothing that you can use in any way, nor anything at all that serves to give you joy. But we are distracted and we think, like in the Matrix movie, right? The red wine and the steak, the money, that's what's going to give us joy. Like I said, I think last week's 4DT, there could be people that have a lot of money that could say, I would give it all away just to have your peace of mind. Believe in this thought, and you are saved from years of misery, from countless disappointments, and from hopes that turn to bitter ashes of despair. No one but must accept this thought is true if he would leave the world behind and soar beyond its petty scope and little ways. So again, Alaya Vijnana in Mahayana Buddhism speaks to that storage house of consciousness, which in many ways reflects the grid matrix that I teach on, holds all the seeds of potential, again, all the particles, everything, all the atoms in the universe in superposition. Anything is possible at any given moment in time. Yet what that teaching speaks to as well is that what happens is that in the world, we think we are our beliefs. We think we are our thoughts. And this is another thing about positive thinking, because until we get to that realization, and it might take a minute, right? When this information comes in new, it's kind of like, if this is new, and it might take a moment to sort of get those new synaptic codes around these concepts. But you begin to realize that you are not your thoughts. Yet, while you're in a body here in the 3D, a part of our self-mastery initiation that is constant is to be very mindful and conscious of the thoughts that we give rise to, of the words that we speak, because we know we're collapsing wave functions. We're creating stuff constantly. And so we are very mindful as an impeccable master as we move in towards that realm of what it is we give rise to within our bodies, in our minds, and in our realities. We learn that we are not our thoughts. We learn how to master our thoughts. We learn how to master the matrix, but we also learn that we are not that we are so much more of that. Let me just read one more little bit. Each thing you value here, right, in the world, is but a chain that binds you to the world, and it will serve no other end but this. So that's that feedback loop. If all I think is I need that $1 million to be happy, meanwhile, I've got mother issues up the wazoo that I have nightmares about, and that I can't sleep well at night for like 30 years. And I, have this issue with the pancreas and and there's all sorts of health things. There's all sorts of things that I'm not looking at, that your body, that your 3D vehicle is saying, pay attention. There's something here for you. Because we know, as Drunvalo Melchizedek says, right? You want to get enlightened? Heal your life. Start on the path of self-healing. And you will come into your own divine pathway of awakening, of enlightening, of self-mastery, and of grace. But if all we're ever doing is asking for the icing on top, and then using our positive thoughts in that way of like, I will make $1 million, I will make $1 million. And meanwhile, spirit, the part of you that is definitely connected to soul, but that is more accessible in a way. I mean, it's all accessible. But just if we're going to talk about it in layers, that there's our physical multidimensionality, and then there's spirit, which is the blueprint of the higher self, the voice of the higher self, the soul, that is really accessible right there. That if it's talking to you through your 3D vehicle, and instead of maybe asking for that $1 million, if you're saying, well, how, and unless, maybe that positive thought is to shapeshift and to say, and again, questions can be positive thoughts, but a different positive thought is I now heal my past in beautiful ways. My past is now healed in beautiful ways. Because then all those hangups that may be blocking you from having that $1 million under grace, you see, not out of manipulating, burning candles, and forcing and walking all over people and trying to control time and space. We don't do that here. We move from the fourth dimensional consciousness, but it's a journey, and we learn how to move from that fourth dimensional consciousness of the heart space, so that what is co-created on behalf of us comes by way of grace for the highest good of you and for the highest good of all. Love makes geometry sacred. Otherwise, it's just a whole bunch of geometry out there. Your positive thinkings, your positive thoughts, when they're rooted in spirit, rooted from your heart, again, which is a journey. We can be affirming and positive thinking stuff for years, only to realize when we start going deeper, we're like, shh, listen to what I've been asking for. That is so actually not the authentic me. I'm so grateful that hasn't come to pass. Let me rewrite that script. So just again, each thing you value here is but a chain that binds you to the world, and it will serve no other end but this. For everything must serve the purpose you have given it until you see a different purpose here, a different purpose there. The only purpose worthy of your mind this world contains is that you pass it by without delaying, to perceive some hope where there is none. Be you deceived no more. The world you see holds nothing you want. Woo! Boom. So again, that chain that links us is when we extend the thought, that positive thought, right? It goes out from us. Like attracts like. It connects to those equal thoughts vibrationally that resonate with that same frequency in the grid matrix of collective consciousness. In turn, those grids from the matrix connect to us, and they pipe us, they connect us into those frequencies. They pipe us into that frequency. So of course, what we affirm, what we see is what we get, or fractals of that, the experience of that as related to our own consciousness and the consciousness of others. But again, if it is only that which we think we want that would make us happy in the world, then we are doing the loop effect in the world. Yet when we root that positive thought with something that's really going to crack our code and even challenge us, that might even be hard to say or bring tears to your eyes, or make you a little nervous of like, oh my God, is this, ooh, this really expands my aura. Because that's all we're doing as we calibrate the light body, is learning to expand our aura under grace. But that's cracking the code. That's going beyond just the mere positive thinking and really rooting your positive thought with spirit, with your true authentic identity of unity. That's when we crack the code through our thinking, go beyond the world, go beyond that loop, and we enter the domain of the heart space, the domain of the 0 point, that tiny space in the heart that gives way to the entire universe and the blessings therein. All right, let's take a moment. Let's set up for a little meditation. Let's go ahead and close the eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. And we're just going to voyeur. We're just going to drop in for a few. Drop yourself into your heart center, to the center of your chest. And imagine here in this heart center, you meet your higher self. However that may look or feel. Feel you connecting with higher self now. And within your heart space, you see you are in a rose quartz crystalline cave. And higher self begins to guide you, walking deeper into this cave. It's dark and cool. And as you walk further and deeper into this tiny space of your heart, you know that you're coming deeper and deeper into the true parts of yourself. You notice that the pathway you're on with higher self begins to veer left, and you walk to the left, and there's this beautiful little cozy cul-de-sac in the cave that has a candle lit and a little treasure chest next to two little meditation cushions. You sit down with higher self, just in front of higher self. You sit here, you take a moment, you take a breath, and you close your eyes. And with higher self holding space for you now, take a moment to drop within and really truly consider one, maybe two areas of your life where you are aware now that the thoughts you have, the positive thoughts you have about that aspect of your life, are really not the thoughts you would have in that area. And if this doesn't make sense now, it's okay. In this meditation, higher self urges you to open the little treasure chest sitting next to you. And you open the chest, and there are two envelopes. And you see one envelope has written on the outside number 1, and you pick up that envelope first. And higher self tells you in this meditation that these are messages you've written yourself, especially for this meeting now. So, in consideration of this area of life, of where it is you have cultivated positive thinking and where it's not working, and where maybe you can go deeper into rewriting your thoughts in this area, begin to open up that envelope with number 1 on it now and notice the message you have written for yourself just for this exact moment right now, and see what it says. Take a snapshot in your mind, repeat it within. And higher self tells you that you can hold on to that envelope if you would like, or you can put it back in the little chest. So you decide if you put it in your pocket or place it back. And now come to awareness of a different aspect in life, and where perhaps you've cultivated a positive thought that's not cracking your code, that's not really shifting the energy in that domain for you, and where you can go deeper to get in alignment with your truth and spirit, in alignment with those aspects of you that are waiting to be seen, to be heard, to be given a word, to be given a thought and a vision through you rewriting that positive thought in that domain. Now, looking down, you see an envelope, that second envelope with number 2 written on it. Begin to pick up that envelope and open it up, and there's a message in there that you wrote especially for yourself for this occasion. Have a look and read it now. And breathe it in and breathe it out. Repeat it. Read it again. And then decide if that is something that you would take with you, or if you would leave the envelope there. Either putting that envelope in your pocket or leaving it present and gently closing that treasure chest. And taking a moment, connecting with higher self, and sitting quietly here and allowing this new awareness, this new expansion of awareness to gently fall over you like a shower of white light in this meditation. This new awareness that deepens your perspective of positive thinking, that deepens your awareness of what a powerful alchemical process it truly can be when rooted with your awareness that you are not a body, that you are spirit, and that you are not bound to mere third dimensional experiences and circumstances. Now take a breath. Take a moment. Begin to gently awaken yourself from this seated position. And opening your eyes in this meditation in your heart space with higher self, seeing your higher self sitting across from you. And at once, feel your higher self merge its body, its energy body, with your physical body in this heart space, in your meditation. Take a full inhale through the nose. And as you exhale through the mouth, feel this tiny version of you merged with your higher self, expanding, filling up the physical form of your 3D body wherever you lay or sit now. And we'll do that twice more. Inhaling, breathing higher self in, breathing that alignment, that merging in, and exhaling, expanding that version of you from your meditation with this new awareness in alignment with higher self, expanding that beautiful frequency through your physical being, through your aura. And one more deep breath in and a deep breath out. Stabilizing this energy. And now feel your awareness, your presence back in your body, fully grounded, anchored, centered, balanced, contained, and aligned. And begin to slowly awaken. Can open the eyes, bring awareness back to the room, back to the space where you are. Blessings, dear community. I think we have about a minute left. Thank you so much for following, for subscribing everywhere. I'm going to be facilitating a presentation called Grid Mind Science, which is based on the metaphysical teachings I share, and that is also a movie that I'm creating. I'm going to be at the Conscious Life Expo in February of 2020 sharing, and I'm so very excited. So thank you for all of your support. Thank you for following Grid Mind Science, which blends the teachings of metaphysics, of science, and spirituality, and really how healing is at the root of our enlightenment, of our awareness, of our ability to be in the world and not of it. We learn about the light body, we learn about the Merkaba, the Taurus activation, and so much more. If you would like to stay in touch, I'll be sending out my monthly love letter. It's my monthly newsletter from my website, which is just my name, tuesdaymaythomas.com. Every month I send out a love letter. And if you want to stay in touch, receive my monthly blog, and I often will add little free downloads for meditations, little MP3s or worksheets and little goodies, links to my books. Do go ahead to the first page there and subscribe. And I'm so very grateful, as always, for you being here. 4D Trinity will be off next week for the holiday, but I'll be back January 2nd. So blessings. And thank you so much, everyone. Namaste with so much love and so much light. Blessings and blessings. And so it is.